You're lying in bed, texting your girlfriend. You joke about being a rebel against Xi Jinping, saying you got a surprise for him in your backyard. It's just a silly text, something to make her laugh. You both chuckle and move on to chatting about weekend plans. Nothing serious, right? Later that night, you've suddenly woken up by the sound of your door being kicked in. Bright lights flood your room, and you see armed officers surrounding you, guns pointed right at you. Your heart pounds as panic sets in. What's going on? Why are they here? Then it hits you. The joke text. Could they really have read everything? Every intimate conversation, every joke, every ordinary detail? You've heard about the Chinese government spying on its citizens, but it always seemed distant, like something out of a conspiracy theory. The tool they use? WeChat, an app you thought was just a convenient way to stay in touch with friends and family. WeChat, created by Tencent Holdings Limited, is more than just a messaging app. For over 1 billion people, it's an essential part of daily life, used for chatting, paying bills, and more. But beneath its user-friendly surface lies a powerful surveillance tool. The Chinese government can monitor, censor, and control the information exchanged through it. Back in 2020, a group called Citizen Lab in Toronto found out that WeChat censors real-time messages and images that the government doesn't like. This censorship isn't limited to China. WeChat's reach extends globally, affecting Chinese citizens living abroad. These users often turn to WeChat to stay connected with loved ones back home, unaware that their conversations are being watched. As you try to make sense of what's happening, the true extent of WeChat's surveillance becomes clearer and even more disturbing. Researchers have suggested that the app might contain spyware, capable of infiltrating smartphones worldwide. This isn't just about personal privacy, it's a serious national security issue, with sensitive data potentially ending up in Beijing's hands. Hong Kong, where WeChat servers are located, isn't safe either. Under the new national security legislation, these servers must comply with Beijing's orders. This means any data collected, even from users in the US, is easily accessible to the Chinese government. For Chinese people living abroad, WeChat is both a lifeline and a trap. It connects them to home, but also subjects them to constant surveillance. Just before the 20th Communist Party Congress, protesters in Beijing used banners to voice their dissent. WeChat swiftly censored any related content, shutting down opposition and reinforcing the government's control. Imagine relying on WeChat for everything, talking to your family, paying bills, even booking doctor appointments. One day you share a picture or comment that the government deems inappropriate and suddenly you're cut off. Your account is banned, leaving you in a digital void. This is the harsh reality for many who run afoul of WeChat's strict censorship and surveillance policies. The consequences are severe. Users banned from the app become digital outcasts, losing access to vital services tied to their accounts. This shows how deeply WeChat is integrated into daily life and the severe repercussions of its censorship. Before moving forward, subscribe to our channel as we uncover the dark world of social media apps. Hit the bell icon so you never miss any videos. In 2019, Hong Kong erupted in protests against an extradition law that threatened its autonomy. The city, promised a high degree of independence until 2047, was suddenly a battleground for democratic reforms. Yet, if you were using WeChat in mainland China, you'd be hard-pressed to find any real information about these protests. Searches for Hong Kong protests turned up empty, and images sent in private messages simply wouldn't go through. WeChat didn't just block information, it actively distorted it. On WeChat's news feeds, the protests were labeled as riots, and demonstrators were called thugs and radicals, supposedly influenced by foreign powers, especially the United States. The app spread a narrative that the unrest was being fueled by external enemies, casting the US as the black hand behind the chaos. This lopsided portrayal had a significant impact. Many people in mainland China who relied on WeChat for their news began to see the Hong Kong protesters not as citizens fighting for their rights, but as dangerous agitators. The Chinese government used this misinformation to shift public opinion and stoke nationalist sentiments. Think about the control this gave the Chinese government. By manipulating the narrative, they could make sure the mainland population viewed the protests through a lens that justified crackdowns and maintained support for the CCP. It wasn't just about blocking information, it was about shaping perceptions and maintaining control. WeChat became a tool of state propaganda. Its censorship algorithms, pressured by Beijing, were constantly updated to recognize and block new forms of dissent. This wasn't just a battle for control of the streets of Hong Kong, it was a battle for control of information. While Hong Kong was in unrest, WeChat also extended its influence into Tibet, a region with a long history of resistance against the Chinese government. Since the Dalai Lama's failed uprising in 1959, Tibetan activists have maintained a government in exile, claiming that Tibet is unlawfully occupied by China. However, with the rise of smartphones, over 70% of the Tibetan population now uses WeChat. Predictably, the app heavily censors the Dalai Lama's spiritual messages and silences political dissent by cutting off internet access for users with opposing views. Activists are being increasingly fined, restricted, or arrested, facing severe punishments like up to 8 years in prison for sharing politically sensitive information on WeChat, such as news about the Hong Kong protests. Despite being over 1,500 miles from Beijing, Tibet is tightly controlled through WeChat and the threat of harsh penalties. Another striking example of WeChat's role in state control is its integration with China's social credit system. This system monitors and rates the behavior of 1.4 billion citizens, rewarding the trustworthy and punishing the disobedient. Similar to a personal credit score, a social credit score can rise with good behavior, like paying bills on time, and fall with bad behavior, like smoking in non-smoking zones. Those with low scores face blacklists affecting all aspects of life. WeChat contributes to this system with a feature known as the deadbeat map. This application reveals the names, court case numbers, reasons for low scores, and even partial home addresses of those deemed untrustworthy within a user's 500-meter radius. The map changes colors based on the density of deadbeats, encouraging users to treat those with low scores as social outcasts. This public shaming turns Chinese society into a virtual prison, where personal privacy is massively infringed upon by Western standards. Without WeChat, the social credit system's consequences would still impact daily lives, but not with the same level of public exposure and societal shunning. It's no surprise that Amnesty International ranked WeChat dead last for messaging app privacy, giving it a score of 0 out of 100. Under President Xi Jinping's rule, the media's role is to support the CCP's unilateral authority, and WeChat embodies this philosophy fully. It has helped the CCP transition from a mere observer to an active enforcer in the digital age. Without resorting to brute force, which would attract global scrutiny, China has trapped its citizens in a digital vice, filtering and controlling information as it sees fit. Help us uncover the secrets of social media companies and how they exploit their users. Hit the bell icon so you're always notified. WeChat's journey began with its predecessor QQ, an international chat service created by Tencent for Chinese users on desktop computers. QQ, originally named OICQ and inspired by ICQ, had to be renamed due to a lawsuit from an American company. Despite this hurdle, QQ grew by copying and integrating features from other internet services. This strategy laid the groundwork for WeChat's launch in the 2010s, right as smartphones were becoming ubiquitous. WeChat didn't become an overnight sensation. It started gaining popularity with the push-to-talk feature, which allowed users to send voice messages that were converted into text. This innovation marked the start of WeChat's transformation into a multifunctional platform. Pony Ma, Tencent's CEO, saw potential beyond messaging. He added Moments, a feature similar to Facebook's timeline, where users could share posts, images, and articles. By 2012, WeChat had reached 100 million users, achieving this milestone faster than any other social media platform at the time. The key to its success was Tencent's strategy of continuously adding new features. A significant breakthrough came during the Lunar New Year when WeChat introduced the Red Packet feature. This allowed users to send and receive money digitally, leading to the creation of WeChat Pay. This feature revolutionized digital transactions in China. WeChat evolved into a super app with the introduction of mini programs, allowing users to access other apps within WeChat without downloading them separately. Users could call friends, book taxis, play games, browse news, and pay bills all within one app. This seamless integration made WeChat indispensable in everyday life. However, WeChat's dominance also enabled extensive state control. The Chinese government used WeChat to monitor and influence the population. Unlike other messaging apps, WeChat does not offer end-to-end encryption, making user data accessible to the government. Allegations of spyware within the app further underscore its role in surveillance. The government collects and uses personal data extensively, turning WeChat into a tool for censorship and control. WeChat is integral to China's social credit system, which tracks citizens' behavior and assigns scores affecting their rights and privileges. Data from WeChat on users' payment history, locations, purchases, and social connections feed into the system, determining their trustworthiness. Those with low scores face various restrictions, tightening the government's grip on society. Tencent's relationship with the Chinese government has allowed it to grow with little interference from regulators. This partnership has enabled Tencent to outcompete foreign rivals and dominate the Chinese market. However, it also means that WeChat operates under strict government oversight, ensuring it aligns with the CCP's objectives. When Elon Musk purchased Twitter and announced the appointment of Linda Yaccarino as its new CEO, he focused on launching X, a WeChat-like app. He tweeted, looking forward to working with Linda to transform this platform into X, the everything app. The big question is, will Elon Musk's X be any different from WeChat? The United States is not a communist state, so Elon's app won't be a government tool for mass surveillance. At least that's the hope. However, creating an app like WeChat in America faces significant obstacles. In April 2023, there were reports of a merger between Twitter and Elon's old online banking platform, X.com, but this hasn't been confirmed. Acquiring the necessary services to rival WeChat will be challenging, and it's too early to predict how this will unfold. Privacy policies for X will likely be stricter than WeChat's, given the standards set by competitors like WhatsApp, Instagram, Snapchat, and Tinder. Elon Musk has publicly criticized censorship and described Twitter as a town square. This suggests that X might offer more freedom of speech compared to WeChat. It's hard to say whether X will be a good or bad development. On the positive side, an app that integrates messaging, social media, news, music, and video streaming, online shopping, bill payments, and even taxi and food orders could simplify and organize lives, potentially leading to a more efficient and greener future. However, there are concerns about the power such an app could wield. While it might not serve as a surveillance tool like WeChat, the fear remains that it could be misused in other ways. The potential for it to be leveraged by powerful entities in the West is a valid concern. That's it for today. Stay safe, cautious, and aware. Subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon for more videos. See you soon.